afternoon. I call to order the school board workshop. Ms. Tanner, please call the roll.
Here.
Here.
Present.
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 Here. Our first agenda item, 2.01, School Board Goal 2, interim measure number 1 with Kristen McGarity.
All right, good evening. I'm Kristen McGarity. I'm here to present on Goal 2.1. It's our interim goal. I have with me Miss Lisa Nash, who is the Senior Coordinator for Elementary English Department. So through this, we're going to try and take this document, but also do a little bit of a PD, and we're calling them PD statements around the VALS assessment, because the VALS is new to us. We're only going in, so about the test, the VALS is a screener. And basically, we have to remember with VALS that the skills get harder at each administration. So they want to see where kids are able to leverage information from prior knowledge, as well as are they ready to learn new knowledge. With that piece of it, there's also a piece, there's subtests, and all of the subtests are different pieces. There are code-based tests, which really lean towards letting us know about decoding skills of students. Then it also has language-based subtests, so then it lets us know how are they also able to take that information and read and have comprehension. With that piece, we are only, with the test, I say it's new, it's not in its first year. We are only going into the second year. So we really don't have year-over-year trends other than kind of what happened last year and what happened going into fall. The way VALS scores is different from PALS. So previously, this goal was percentage of students identified, which means they are really at high risk of struggling to learn to read, and then if they weren't. This has 3 wristbands. With the wristbands here, they are students at low risk, moderate risk, and high risk. With the 3 different wristbands, and Ms. Nash may want to expand on this a little more, where basically what Virginia Connects is saying, and the people who built VALS and did all the training on VALS, students are all at risk to have a struggle to learn to read. Nobody's not at risk unless you are super proficient adult reader, taking meaning away, able to read everything and that kind of thing. So it really is watching kids move through as they take these assessments, where is their level of risk? If you're low risk, does not mean you're a perfect reader. Reading comes over time as they spiral through all of these things. But so it's not that we take the eye off, we need to take our eye off when they're low risk, because they're fine. They need to still be in our purviews and moving forward, because we could get to winter and that could change. So those are just kind of some basic descriptors. Anything else about that? The overall goal is the SOLs, the 3rd grade reading, but really the piece we're looking at 1st and 2nd grade VALs, because they are ones who are showing us how is our early literacy looking and those kinds of things. I have benchmarked out the data. We have the data here for 1st grade and 2nd grade. I kind of talk through it as I go through. So I don't want to just I can sit on this one page if that's easier for you guys to look at this or not. We have proposed benchmarks here, or targets essentially throughout the year. A lot of the reasoning we talk through is really going to say why we have landed here and that kind of thing. So if that's okay, then I'll leave this here and start talking through. So we all did a couple different comparisons. So we looked at this data 3 different ways. One of them was we looked at beginning of year to beginning of year. So again, if we had lots of years, we would be looking over lots of years. We have last year and this year because of where we are with VALS. Then we also looked end of year to beginning of year, and then we also looked with quasi-cohorts. So I'm going to go through each one and talk through. The first one we want to talk about is beginning of year comparisons. Because it's a screener, we do need to still remember that content changes during each administration that comes. So it's not an assessment that we just keep giving over and over, hoping they finally have all of it. It does move. And we need the VALS assessment. Another piece of it is that there are also overlapping skills that are assessed. So I'm a second grader. It's also going to overlap a little bit towards what's happening expected of a first grader in the spring, and maybe what's happening that expected of a third grader next fall. So it does have that adaptive piece that moves through. But with the beginning of year, what that really can inform us about, and the way we are looking at that, is we're able to say, beginning of year to beginning of year, fall to fall, we are able to say, our kids are coming in stronger to the first and the second grade. And for two different reasons. For first grade, where we're seeing that is the kids who are in that high-risk band, they are at high risk of struggling to learn to read. That has reduced. We are able to say for second grade, even though the high-risk band did increase a little bit, the low-risk band is increased as well. So what that's really telling us is that about second graders and the second grade literacy requirements is that students really are, if they are strong coming in with the first grade standards and what they know, they are able to leverage that information to be able to navigate more of the higher complex second grade reading. First grade, there is not as much of that need because they are kind of coming from more of an isolation of skill perspective into that kind of same thing, and we're getting ready to learn how to build upon that. So that can be some of that reason why we're seeing that other, even though the high risk band is probably our less strong students at that point that really have information, but now that application of it becomes a struggle, which is good information for us. So with that piece, that's kind of what we're seeing here. So that's that beginning of year, fall to fall. As we move through the year, we'll also look at winter to winter because we want to figure out what are the patterns, and I call them behaviors. That is just my habit to call it a behavior, but basically what are these literacy behaviors and the behavior of the data essentially about these kids, because that's how we're going to be able to really pinpoint and target. The next comparison we did was end of year to beginning of year. So I talk about this one in the way that it is helpful, but not helpful when we're talking only about students. So that's why I moved away from just one statement there, but to have three different ways to look at this. Really what that beginning of the year does tell us kind of about instructional programming, where it's spring to fall. But when we're talking about in the same grade level, it's not the same set of kids. It's different sets of kids, right? So I can't say, hey, these kids were here and now they're here. So with that piece, but what it does do is that we take that and look at that, and we look at all of this from this level all the way down to the school level. We're able to say, because kids shuffle, as we know, we're a transient city. So with that piece, they shuffle where are resources needed. Last year it might have been here, but now there might be more resources here. It might be a teacher, it might be a school, it might be something different, so that the English department takes that, and that's where supports can go in for struggling students, but also on the other end for extension as well. So that piece of it, we're seeing improvements there. We'll keep looking at that by group, but again, that is like really focused around resource distribution. And that piece, the third one is the quasi cohort comparison. And I say quasi because when we did this, we looked, literally, it is most of the same students. It is not, I didn't dump every student that was not with us last year. Again, I think we start to kind of lose things when we don't have everybody in. With that, that's the piece where we can really watch the set of students and how they do. So we can look from the end of first grade and look to how did they do when they, as the fall second grade, right? So with that piece, so if we're looking at this data, just to kind of talk about that, we see that, if I can see, end of first grade for the high-risk band group, they were at 40% of the kids were there essentially. And when I look at the beginning of second grade, we're at 36. So that's a reduction of kids coming in. However, it's not, we can't say as of summer school and all of these things, right? And it's not that it is, but what it is also we have to remember what that test is doing. It is a screener, and they are screening what do you know, and of the skills that you're supposed to be really strong in coming from first, and are you able to leverage it somewhat to navigate second grade complex literacy? That's where that piece is. So when we see that decline, it's not, they did something over the summer, But what it's telling us is they are holding on to what they had when they left, and coming in, they are able to use it. And so it's, because you can have a lot of things at the end. You want to, you don't want to cram the night before the test. That's that same whole idea. They are solid on with the skills that they left first grade with coming into second grade. So reducing that piece right there. So with this quasi cohort, what popped out to us is that I added the moderate risk group band and the low risk for informational purposes, because we really noticed over the 1 year we've had and coming into this fall that moderate risk band really does fluctuate pretty wildly. And so we looked a little further into what that was. And really what we're noticing is that our kids are sitting at the bottom of the top wristband or the low wristband and at the top of the high wristband. So they're really kind of sitting on the outside of that moderate. So that's where we're seeing that volatility, right? So they're not solid in. So with that, we'll talk about on the next steps, or we can jump in, trying to go in a line, that really looking at how are we going to support the kids in the moderate group. So while we're watching things, learning about what the characteristics are, the behavior of it is, and then also from the English department working on how do we support the kids, because they're not a funded, correct me if I'm wrong, but they are not a funded group. The high risk group is, right? And so it's that whole, when we're seeing a lot of that, because we don't want them to fall out of low risk, and we don't want them to fall, and that's what we're seeing, where we're seeing some of this too, is that moving in and out of that group. So we really, what's going, you sure can.
So 13.3 in the moderate risk group is for the first graders and intermediate.
Yes,
But they started the year in second grade.
yes.
Okay.
So that's, like, that data point is, why is that moving? Because,
Moving in the wrong direction.
right, it's getting bigger, and it's like, but where are they coming from? Are they low kids moving into, low-risk kids moving in, or were they high-risk kids moving up? Like, which way where are they, and that's where I kind of keep talking about the behavior of it. What are the literacy characteristics of the kiddos that are doing that? So that's where it kind of launched us into looking, while we're doing all the other pieces, also working through what's going on with that moderate group, that moderate risk band. Okay, so what's going well is obviously the kids they are strong, coming in stronger, and I think that's huge. They are holding on to what they had, leaving one grade level, going into the next, and they're able to somewhat use that information. So those things are good. Those are what's going well. We are seeing the same patterns with students of all the student groups, except for students with disabilities and English learners. The English learners, we have just had an explosion of enrollment for students who have been identified as English learners. When I started doing this, we were maybe at 600 kids, and I think we're heading towards over, it's like 1,600. It's big. We've had, and I might be misstating, but it's with who we're monitoring and who that kind of falls in that EL group, it's big. But it's a lot of early language learners also. So the early language, not that it makes sense, but it's one of those working with EL department and those kinds of things of how do we support the kids, because the EL piece of it is how do I navigate the instructional academic language of instruction, and then also couple that with reading, right, of a whole other language. So in students with disabilities, sometimes they're a group that takes a little longer to be able to acquire literacy. And those kinds of things, and then we can talk about some of the things that might be in place. And then also what's not going well, even though we're entering stronger, is that they're falling out of the low risk band into that moderate risk band. Like when they're solid, we want them to stay solid, right? We know where they're coming from, and we kind of have an idea. Again, we don't have data from many, many years to really be able to get a solid feeling at this point. But that's kind of that piece of it. What's not going well, some areas we've been able to identify, and it's kind of across the board, are really students who are in first and second grade. Well, first grade, they're really the encoding piece. So there's decoding and encoding. Encoding spelling, decoding's trying to read it. And so with encode, they're just struggling. They can take it in, but they're struggling to put it back out, right? And that makes sense. It does, encoding kind of comes slower, but it's what you can't really do. You got to get past that to be able to kind of do the next piece with literacy and gain understanding from reading. We've been able to identify phoneme segmenting for second graders. That's an area that they're struggling. And I'll let you describe that. I know you described it to me, and now I just dropped it in my brain.
It's really a prerequisite for being able to. I just segment. Spell that, to code those to the language, you have to sound segment means break apart.
Thank you. And thanks. And it's one of those two. One thing that's nice about vowels is the way they lay out their subtests, even in the reporting. It's kind of the way they do it, and then the way in the reporting of it, it really is kind of what do you need first, and it starts layering things on. So we're able to kind of go through the layers to say, like, all right, this is really where first grade we could see this is really becoming an issue, which is really that encoding, and then with second grade that segmenting. So for next steps, I've kind of mentioned a few things as we're going. Really, it's going to be monitoring longitudinal data. We just need more time to learn more about it. We have a lot of information for where we are and things we're going to do, but we want to keep doing that as we go through, and including digging in by student group. Because like I said, we have those two groups, and I want to say, EL, it's a little bit expected, but it's still, we got to dig in further with all of the groups. Because we do have students, our Black students and Hispanic students, they are following the same patterns, but they are performing lower. So it is not significant, but it's one of those that we do, let's look further into it. Are there different literacy skills they need that they are struggling with? Is it encoding for that group? And that's that piece that we'll keep digging into to figure out by group as well. And then continuing to analyze, as I just mentioned, and that kind of, with all of that, really, so we can be proactive to work things. One of the big things I mentioned is that being proactive to look at that moderate group. So we want to keep them in low risk when they're in low risk, and we want to move them up through moderate into high. So watching that really is another piece of that we're going to do. Collaborating with principals about vowels for outcomes and monitoring intervention implementation. Really that piece of it, if it's not being implemented well or appropriately, we can say we're doing a lot of things, but it needs to be done accurately and well so that it does improve the outcome. So really working with the schools with that. We have data meetings that staff go to, and we work through this as part of that, would be the vowels data. It's also one of those that as we're doing PDs with principals and things like that, and also at the division level, we're able to use it to say, what do we need to train on? What are the things they're struggling to teach? And that kind of thing, so that we can work through that way. The other one, and I have on here, like my note to myself is that this is imperative, and I know it's one we both really, is that monitoring the master schedule, and that the block of tier 1 instruction does not get convoluted with intervention block. Because really, if that does happen, the kids aren't even getting the tier 1 instruction to know what to go work on, right? We don't want the intervention block to turn into the tier 1 block for a set of kids, and they're missing so much. So it's really monitoring that to make sure that that is done. I know Ms. Nash works with her specialists and with the schools and things. We kind of work on that as a group across everything. It's not just a literacy thing, it's really all things when we're talking about those two things getting mushy. I'm going to let Ms. Nash talk about the reading plans that are required, and then also the piece we're having to monitor and monitoring those.
Okay, so as required by the Virginia Literacy Act, all that high-risk band are required to have an individualized student. Teams of teachers, all by the administrators and reading specialists, analyze their data, look at their instructional indicators. Those are the deficits that the vowels reports that they have the most weaknesses. And we write out plans to how we're going to address those weaknesses. What are the interventions that are going to be put in place? How often are those interventions going to be carried out? Who's going to carry out those interventions? Those plans are communicated with their families. Families are invited to be part of those reading plans and developing those plans, providing input, and we provide the parents copies of those plans and resources to support support those plans. So what we've done this year, this being our second year of implementing those reading plans, is have tighter alignment between the tools that we're using and how we're monitoring the progress. And we're also inviting more people to the table to be a part of those discussions outside of the reading specialists and the families, but more the teachers, the Title I teachers, the interventionists. Last year it was so new to us. We were navigating it kind of blind, but this year we have a better understanding of how to make sure everything is in alignment and tightened for the benefit of our students. Anything else you want to say?
All right, and then the last piece really is the ongoing professional development. So I'm going to let Ms. Nash talk about that too, because that's.
Okay, really, to what Ms. Garrity spoke upon about the moderate wristband. So the high wristbands students are identified. They have EIRI. We have our early literacy tutoring program that Dr. Poe spearheaded when he came on board to Norfolk. So we have the resources identified of who's going to sit with those kids, pull them out, and provide those specific interventions. So now we need to hone in on our moderate wristband. So we literally have a PD going on right now on Zoom, division-wide PD for our K through 2 teachers to analyze the VALS reports, look at those moderate risk students, what are those instructional indicators, and showing them how to act upon that information in your small group instruction, because really it's the teachers' combination between tier 1 instruction and then more small group instruction to make sure that our students in moderate wristbands who aren't necessarily getting that extra intervention piece, that they move up into that low wristband and don't slide into that high wristband. So we're building capacity with all of our teachers, all of our buildings. We're running PD today. We're going to take that PD on the road, if you will, to different schools and deliver it inside of the especially our most
And as we learn more, they'll keep differentiating that when we start even getting more information about the subtest and specific literacy. So that is all we have. I know we talked a lot. If you guys have questions, we are ready.
Cool. Thank you, ladies, for coming up and giving an excellent presentation. So I just want to make sure I understand for clarification. So the target was 67% for the school year 24-25, and we hit 59%. Is that for all students?
Yes, so that is for third grade, all students SOLs. So the goal, the big overarching goal is third graders are going to be better prepared to read and pass the SOL test. So yes, so last year's target was 67 and 59% of our third graders passed the SOL test last year.
Got it, okay.
And then the rest of it is VALS to inform us about the early literacy of kids coming up towards third grade.
Got it. So one could say that one could say that we still haven't met the target of students that are reaching third grade reading proficiency.
Yes.
59%.
Yep, so we have not met the annual target. The long-term goal is that 75%. So hopefully seeing these stronger starts and kids holding on to information that it's hard to say we didn't see or did see it before because we didn't have an assessment that we could compare that way. That is leaning us towards that we are making some movement.
Nope, definitely making strides, and I commend y'all for all the work that you're doing. I actually went on the website. I'm sorry, Dr. Pope.
If I could, I just want to remind the board and the public watching too, as a reminder, right now at the state level, they're creating a moving target for us as well.
Okay.
So remember, the SOL passing rates are going to change drastically possibly. I think the October 23rd board meeting is when they're looking at voting on a timeline of implementation, but it will change everything very drastically as well. So that, when we have these targets laid out, it'll be ideal time for us as a division to be looking at a new strategic plan anyway, incorporating the board goals into that plan, so we'll know better then. But just a reminder that, as many times I can remind the public that the VDOE is coming out with new pass rates that are going to be detrimental, these targets that were created 4 years ago are no longer going to be valid targets.
And I think it's important, the moving targets all over the place for lots of things. There were new standards last year. There was the new assessment last year. There was the new VALS last year. no crosswalk years. We've always had crosswalk years for everybody to be able to kind of, like she said, we weren't sure what we did. We don't know what we don't know.
Right.
So when they're kind of throwing these things out, so the mere, like, I was pleasant, there's work to do, but we were pleasantly surprised and happy to see we were able to kind of still hold true, not let the state barriers impact the kids, and stay true to what was right, which was doing, teaching the students to read and with
Good.
best practice. So,
Just another follow-up question. So I'm just looking on the website for VDOE, and I put in like the 2024-25 scores. Is it, is English reading grade 3? Is that what we're looking at?
that should be on the assessments. If you're on the
It's got
school,
67.19 as a pass rate for Norfolk as a
the
division.
third grade only,
Yeah.
did you hit update?
Yeah, on this I did, yeah.
I didn't even think they were up there.
Not the accreditation hasn't
Yeah.
been, but the
Assessments are
accountability.
up there.
Assessment,
But
okay.
assessments are,
Quality.
that we,
I'll resubmit it and we'll see.
yeah, I'll check
Yeah,
it
we'll
too
come
to
back to
say,
it.
but I'll check it. I
Okay,
mean,
no
I've
problem.
looked at them so many times, but there's
No
been so
problem.
many things that we've had to report as wrong to the state
Gotcha.
that,
But this number is accurate.
yes.
Okay,
from-
awesome. All right, one final question, I did have, so there, I just want to get clarification in the public since they're watching. So also, because I've been hearing, I don't think it's something that's going on, I don't believe it is, 3Qing, that's been banned in Virginia, and some people are saying that that's being part of the curriculum for reading, I just need to get confirmation. Come to the podium so I can hear you and the citizens can hear
Definitely not
you.
a part of our curriculum.
Okay.
Yeah, we have Science of Reading Aligned curriculum. We use
Okay.
Benchmark Advanced. It's high-quality instructional material. It's been approved by the state. It's foundational skills,
Okay.
evidence-based, all those things, and we do not do the 3Qing system.
Okay, I kind of figured you didn't, but I know I'd heard that in the community, and I just wanted to hear it so the citizens can definitely hear directly
We
from
do
you.
not do the 3Qing system.
Thank you so much, ladies. That's all the questions for me.
Thank you. Excellent presentation. I think you hit at least half of my questions with explaining. So, yeah, I felt maybe there was some prediction of what, but anyway.
Yeah.
The beginning to beginning comparison, the beginning of the year comparisons and the, end of year to beginning comparisons. I really appreciate the detailed explanation as to what that informs of us, of. So I wanted to get to that, specifically. So the beginning of year comparisons tells us how strong our early literacy readiness is, right? And so if you were to walk back to kindergarten and pre-K, what specifically are you seeing there? Because I know over the last few years, this is one area where, and I know we've moved from PALS to VALS and, but we've seen strength there, right? With the early readiness. So if you were to walk backwards, what are we doing in those early readiness years that is getting us to see the results that we're seeing? If you could talk a little bit about that. So it's, yeah.
On the data side of things, and then I'll let Ms. Nash talk, like kindergarten this year is not done yet. So and that is what's really hard. They start a little later just because they're learning to be at school. So I would really hate to speak and say this is what's happening with the data until we kind of had at least a fall to be able to say. Pre-K, we are seeing improvements every year. Pre-K VALS does lay out very different, where it does not put them in band, it's more developmental, but it is developmental by every subtest. So it's developmental, where are they on the developmental scale by letter sounds? Where are they on the developmental scale by each, letter identification and those kinds of things? There's a couple others, but it doesn't come up with a scaled score to say you're in this band. It's just pre-K really looks at it developmentally. So when we look at those things individually, we are seeing improvements. as the years of pre-K kind of go through, when we're looking at them pre-K to pre-K. And then we also do, once VALS is done for kindergarten, we do look back to say, where were they for pre-K? And letting that inform to say, for the pre-K department, to be able to say, we need to add some supports here, because that's informing us of instructional programming back here. Those things for this year just really haven't happened because kindergarten's not done yet, and that's kind of that big piece for us.
Right. So if you were to look backwards, so I appreciate that explanation. So the pre-K vals is more developmental. Is there are there indicators on that that correlate heavily with, so it sounds like the kindergarten vals is aligned with the pre-K val? I mean, like, is it?
Content or the way it
Well,
scores?
the content, the scores are more like the first grade?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes, so, but there's still, like, there's letter identification even at 1 and 2.
Okay.
It might not be everybody, so we're able to kind of thread some of that through to see that's another piece of like, what are the behaviors of the data, kind of trying to define those characteristics that are moving kids around within the pieces. But Ms. Nash can speak more to like the actual content piece if there's more question that way.
Well, I didn't want to get too much into the content
Okay.
of it, but I'm really trying to understand what our strategies are that are leading to seeing a greater number of students in the low-risk band, and what are you seeing those strategies being implemented across all of our pre-K ECs? And the other question connected to that is, I'm really trying to understand how our ECCs are functioning in terms of, performance versus our pre-K centers that are in our schools. Like, are we seeing this great difference between the ECCs
So I
in terms of readiness?
looked at that. Because all of them, even the ones that are in our schools, the kids spread out. Like if they're in pre-K at Crossroads, doesn't mean they're going to matriculate through Crossroads. And so as I'm looking at that, there's, we could say there's one that might flag up a little bit more than other. But it's not that this one and that it's stronger because, a lot of things happen also between pre-K and looking at first grade data, right? Where were they before? Data-wise, we can look at those, but I think Ms. Nash would also be able to speak to those strategies regardless. I mean, we do see certain schools flag up a little bit more as having, if I said, okay, this kid who was in, I could look and say, these kids in this preschool across all of the elementary schools, and those numbers are really small. So it does start to get, we're looking at 2 kids because there's 2 at this school, 2 at this school. There are a couple that do flag up a little bit more as having more kids in high risk. Is it where they were before, like after pre-K, before first grade when we're looking at this, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to say exactly. I mean, that's not something, it's something that we can definitely look at and just try to, but again, it's going to help to have the fall in of kindergarten to be, because that's that middle place.
Right.
That they go through.
Yeah, and just to give you some insight as to why I'm asking and
Okay.
my thinking around that is, I'm focused on, how the academic, the learning environment is in terms of even the school closure, consolidation, redistricting, all of that, at the end of the day, it has to be connected to the academic outcomes. And so if there are areas where you are seeing a greater number of students who are being flagged, or additional supports or whatever is necessary, and how that ties into the bigger picture, of what we are, I think, in a sense, kind of reimagining our district, and.
Go ahead.
We allocate all of our research based on data. Those are kind of flexible. For example, our early literacy tutors, we always reevaluate the deficits in those buildings according to the data, and we take our allocations and we shift them to where the greatest needs are. And I know other schools have other resources available to them to make sure that they have human resources to deliver the quality interventions. Our office definitely responds by data and goes to support the schools to provide more professional development on evidence-based literacy interventions and strategies, making sure that we're in classrooms, coaching teachers on the curriculum and the foundational skills so that our focus and attention is at the schools that have the greatest concerns.
Okay.
And I think the data piece that I would say is that it is also depending where that kid goes after they leave the pre-K center.
Right.
So that seems to have an impact on it as well, whether it's the center or whether it is the in-building ones, because
And that's something that.
that's the, it's
That's the piece
seats.
that's really important, that,
Yeah.
we have this strong, and that was gonna tie into one of my other questions as to, like, the pre-K piece, if you have a strong environment there, and then you go into your K-5 program, that also, you're gonna see that pre-K slide, if that is not also a strong place. So where students are going after that is really important. And is part of my question as to, because we didn't hit the target, and I know there are a lot of moving targets there, but, and reasons for that with new standards, new tests, but we haven't met the third grade target over the last couple of years, honestly. And so, while we've seen strong early literacy progress. So my question is really like, where's that gap? Like, what is happening there that we maybe aren't addressing or don't know what it is? Or is it really a function of, the student is leaving their early program and going into a program that perhaps not as strong, or, what's happening is what I'm trying to figure out or understand.
I will say,
If you.
and I don't know that I have the answer to that. I could not whip out a report and say, here it is, and I know this for sure, but the thing, we have to have a question to be able to know where to dive in. I always joke, and they are always like, Kristen in another rabbit hole, right? Because I just get, but that is a big question. It used to be kids have never taken an SOL test before at third grade, but that's not really the situation anymore. Last year, there was a lot, and I know there was a ton of training around the new standards, that even teaching teachers how to teach them, and they're so different. The science of reading, yes, has been there, but it was you were learning it and originally applying it to the old set of standards. Now you got to apply that to the new set. So I'm not saying that's the reason. Those are kind of those questions we're having. Like, is this? We used to have kind of what it was, so we had put things in to try and mitigate that. Where it's just they have not seen a test nav test ever before, and they kind of figure out like, oh, that's what you wanted me to do afterwards. But I think right now that's the question we have to start trying to dig into to figure out, was it all of these other things, even with the, like I said, we were staying true to the kids and doing what's right by the kids and all those kinds of things, but we're also still learning things, and to try and teach the teachers how to do it, there's just that delay, and I just feels like there was an impact, especially with our little kiddos moving from early literacy kind of perspective, that into that third grade, that it's more about gaining meaning from reading.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that.
Yeah.
We've been in a transition, especially in our lower grades, really honing in on evidence-based literacy, science of reading, and those foundational skills. But it's not just decoding and encoding, sounding out, it's also meaning and comprehension. So I think we're seeing that trend also, and we're honing in and adjusting our program in second grade, because that really is that transitional year. They're coming in strong in third grade with their ability to read. We're seeing that in third grade, but the meaning piece has to be there as well. So we're making some adjustments to our second grade instructional program to address what you're seeing.
In second grade, if I had to pick out of this, where's a bigger picture kind of place to place additional support, it'd be second grade. And so those things are kind of happening. And again, there's questions out there, and it's just trying to figure it out when the state is moving things so often. I keep kind of equating it to they're still at the store buying the parts for the plane they're trying to fly in at the
Right.
same time.
Yeah.
And so,
But we're good pilots.
but we are, we're maintaining, we stick the course, we're doing what's right for kids and, yeah. And that, it'll come out in the wash with doing what's right for the kids.
Right, well, great. And so, my final, so the beginning to beginning, like, as you look at fall to fall, winter to winter, and you're trying to see what the, like you mentioned, learning behaviors are, literacy behaviors are, like, what strategies are working as part of that, I imagine, is going to be something that you're looking at and monitoring. And I think it'd be helpful to us, too, to have those strategies be included, especially, or if there are strategies that you say aren't working, that, that we've had to abandon, I think those pieces in the report, I think will be really helpful
Okay.
to us.
Yep, and I think the subtests will be able to inform us with that, because that's informing where the strategies start kind of being placed. So, okay, yep. I will add that.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes, well, first off, again, thank you again, ladies. Y'all do some hard work. I definitely want to commend you on it. So what are some of the barriers that our students are facing going into why they're not reading by third grade? That's the first question. And then the second question is, so I just pulled up, so I got the correct data now from VDOE. We're second from the bottom as far as reading scores compared to our neighboring cities. We're at 58.96% actually, and Portsmouth's at 50%. So, and then Virginia Beach is at 74.84%. Are we working with other neighboring districts to see what's working for them in their districts and see if we can bring that back to work for our students here in Norfolk? So that's the two-part questions I got.
Okay, so barriers, I think that's a complex,
Of course,
there's a lot.
yeah, there are a lot.
When we're speaking in terms of literacy, a lot of times it's language.
Okay.
And just not, that I'm from another country or anything, but just being exposure to a lot of vocabulary and talk and complex ideas, being surrounded by that rich language environment, being read to, all of that is a kind of prerequisite to be able to break the code and make meaning and do all those things.
So we need the kids to come back, so when we say kids don't be in grown folks' conversations, go in other
Get in
rooms,
the
we need them to come back so they can hear.
Have a book.
Right, or a book or something.
Needs to talk to our children a lot more and involve them in those conversations.
Got it, okay.
And it's like that pre-K, well, it's pre-K, but it's really birth,
Right,
when
birth
the
third.
babies are, as the babies are born, they're getting books.
Yeah.
Right.
Trying to really kind of help families see, you've got to read to your kids, like, it does make a difference, and it's not just because I'm going to read later, it really is, it enriches their vocabulary, kind of expands their, because background knowledge is huge. I mean, we had a conversation about decoding versus, pseudo words versus real words, and why kids can do one and not the other, and just how the brain works around that. And it's looking for information about what words are as they're trying to read, and if they don't have that exposure, it impacts that.
Okay. And into the second one, which strategies, are y'all taking anything from other school districts that are going above the state average, like Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, Isle of Wight? Like any strategies y'all taking from them to try to bring here to Norfolk?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the strategy, what we know works is good quality instruction. So we're all on the same board in the state in terms of we're in year 2 of implementing our high quality instruction. So the strategies are how we're building capacity of teachers. So we do meet regionally pretty frequently with other divisions as far out as towards more in the western state through CERN and through more local. Yeah, we do lots of collaboration, and we actually have groups where I meet with divisions that have the same and kind of makeup. Well, the same curriculum that we're using. So, because we're all using different things, but with the same theories in mind. So we definitely do lots of collaborating on how are we getting our message across to teachers? How are we building teachers' capacity to understand that we don't do 3 queuing systems and that we're doing evidence? And what does evidence-based literacy actually look like? How can I follow that curriculum with fidelity and know the why behind all the methods that I'm doing that might seem foreign to a newer teacher or even a veteran teacher? So we definitely strategize around those points.
Thank you so much. No further questions from me, Madam Chair. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Next, agenda item 2.02, discussion of the school closure and consolidation plan survey results. Says with Dr. Pohl, do you have, I mean, we've all been sent the survey results and have had a chance to look at them. I think it's more of a discussion for the board members
So
at this point.
Yeah, I would just like to interject. I think we could probably open this survey for a year. And I think we get the general consensus of what we can get back is, when you read over these, a lot of it is, some folks say, do it, move fast, we got to get it done. Some folks are like, you're going way too fast, slow down the roll. And then the other consensus is, don't close my school, but close my neighbor's school. That's fine with me. And I understand, and I think that's, as a community, that's what we've been battling for a while when we talk about school consolidations. And just when I looked over it, some of the key themes were that urgency versus timing, that, this is something we need to do. We know this, right? As a body, we know that this is something we have to move forward with. There were talks about transportation and accessibility. Know that those are taking into consideration. Once we rezone, I know we had comments, at the mic at the last business meeting about, if we close this school, my child will have to walk 2 miles to school. Now, no. We're going to, if they're rezoned, of course, we'll provide transportation to them. Some of the comments were, concerned around if a student has an IEP and needs additional supports. Of course, allocations will be put out to make sure that our students are supported. So all of that, is really, really a part of what we're doing. Dr. Agnew Scott's already put together, we reviewed a solid draft plan today about working with teachers, and they'll be, and we're not just placing teachers. There's going to be a priority fare for them. They're going to be able to look at what openings we have. One of the suggestions that came in was around like a stipend for a teacher who follows the students and goes to the school where they're going. And we're talking to our finance team about that right now to make sure we can put something like that into place. So really looking at the comments to make sure that we have everything in place. So, overall, we got, I think, upwards of 80 comments on here. And then separately, we did give you the comments specifically from the facilities committee. I think all but one were appreciative of the board's work. I think they were all appreciative of the board's work, but all but one were that moved forward with the plan that the board discussed on the 29th, and one said was not quite yet, not quite ready to commit to it. So, overall, I think, again, if we keep this open for another 6 months, we can keep hearing comments for 6 months, but at some point, as a board, the decision has got to be there. So that's just what I want to
And
share.
I do want to clarify, I've heard from a couple of Norview parents now, and I wasn't quite certain why the comment until I was in touch with a Norview parent today. Whatever communication was sent out, I think some people misunderstood the communication to think that the school would be closing mid-year.
That's the same thing I was getting emails
I
on.
was getting emails on, and so I clarified with that parent that no schools will be closing mid-year.
Right.
All schools will be closing at the beginning of the 26-27 academic year. So I just wanted to put that out there as clarification. I'm not saying anybody
Or
said
the-
something, what?
Before the 26, 27, yes.
Yeah, nothing will start, nothing will be, the impression I got was that they thought the schools were going to close mid-year. And that is not something that we would ever do, so.
Possible.
No, that's not even possible.
Yeah, you are correct, Madam Chair. I received numerous emails from my constituents and you as well regarding that. And I've sent back messages saying, we're not doing anything mid-year. So, and then we'll have conversations about where everything falls on the consolidation plan as we get to that discussion.
So regarding that, I really appreciate the dialogue that we had on the 29th, and us really having like a true work session, all of us up and working through some of these issues. The one thing, and I expressed it that evening, that I still remain concerned about is, not that we eventually would close Norview Elementary, but that we're closing a school that is at a high utilization, a larger number of students who has, for the last several months now have been, down further on the list later in the plan to have done, where I feel, and just knowing, I just feel very strongly about allowing the redistricting work and the boundary work to happen before we close a school, especially of that size. So I wanted to discuss with all of you and get your feedback on reconsidering a smaller school that has been, if we must have two schools, that is, I personally want fewer schools in that first year so the boundary work and redistricting work can happen so that we have a more comprehensive plan to begin the school closure process and give everyone notice and time to understand what that means for them and for us to develop strong transitional plans that improves outcomes for students, being at the held with highest priority. So with that, I could support a plan that moved one school next year, closed one school next year, but at this time, I'm not comfortable with closing Norview next year, before the boundary redistricting work is done. So I just wanted to share where I am, wanted to hear your thoughts of where you all are, and express that.
So I share some of the same sentiments my board member Tanya Basine has. Norview was on the bottom of the list originally, and now it's been pushed up. That is a school with a high utilization rate, and I've been getting numerous emails and conversations, and even getting sidetracked at the supermarket on is there a way to have Norview a little bit later and replace that with another one, because that would cause a major disruption to a large amount of students at an elementary school.
Other thoughts?
Anyone else have any thoughts or?
I think no matter if we close Norview in 26, 27, or 27, 28, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard for it's going to be hard for the community, whether or not to rip the Band-Aid off right now or to wait. School board, not this constituency of the school board, but the school board has delayed on decisions in the past. And I think we came up with a plan that we agreed to, and I think we need to move forward. And I completely understand the concerns about Norview, but at the same time, I just think we need to make a decision. Dr. Martin?
When looking at, I like that we have a larger school in Willoughby. So I think that they're not two large schools competing against each other and in resources and everything. I think that this is a really nice way to ease into this process. So that's my opinion. I'm still in favor of this, what we came up with.
Thousands of emails, like I said. Norview parents, Rosemount parents, St. Helena, just Lindenwood, all the schools. Everybody's complaining. We cannot keep all schools open, and that's reality. So it's just time to make a decision. Like Sarah said, we did come with, a plan somewhat at the last meeting, and can't keep on holding the ball. We got to dribble it and make.
And ecology.
And to be, can I clarify?
Wait, hold on, Colonel had his hand up.
The meeting, we all agreed that we would move Norfolk, where, the elementary school where it is. And one of the reasons was, two of the board members said they were feeling ill going into that building.
And that was probably unfair of the board members to say, because there's no data to support that.
Well, that was their reaction at the time.
If they're
or they
just
wouldn't-
feeling that way, then that's the way they feeling. If they going back and they wasn't feeling that way, then it shouldn't have been said at the beginning.
It's not, that's, is an instant, and that's kind of what's been said. If you go there, the school has dehumidifiers by every classroom in the hallway. There's something wrong with what's going on in there. They wouldn't have those. Those are not supplied, as I understand it, by the school system. Somebody gave it to the school, or they acquired them somehow. So there are problems there, and we agreed that we would move it up. Now we're saying, well, let's push it back. At what point is it better for the students, or is it better for wherever the pressure is coming from to delay it?
I think we just want to have a discussion on it and see where we all land on it.
And
But
Madam Chair,
also,
since
well, there's a disruption whenever you move, whether you're first, second, or third, you're going to have a disruption, but you're going to know a little quicker. And it was said that we've been not doing this for, the board, we are the board, we own the past, and we have not moved forward. We're kind of getting the right sizing done that needs to be done. I yield.
Yeah, I want to clarify, I am not suggesting that we hold a vote, move a vote, delay a vote. I'm suggesting, and right now, what is first and foremost important to me is the student outcomes for every student that is impacted by this. That is what I'm looking at. I am looking at the data. I am looking at not just the condition of the buildings, the utilization. I'm looking at what gives us time to set up the best learning environment for every student. And I don't believe that having one of our largest schools on the first round of this allows us to do the best job possible. And what I'm trying to accomplish is that we have the time. We're honestly, this whole thing, we're set up for failure. We're just trying to fail less hard by this pressure. The school board, this iteration, this configuration, previous configurations has been doing the ed planning, I'm going to say it again, ed planning, facilities planning work for over a decade, and we have made decisions. There was a time when we made decisions that were based on data, facts, and looking at academic performance. Right now, we are being pressured to do this quickly with no real evidence of what the cost savings are going to be other than, this is how many math specialists are in a building. We don't really have that number. And closing schools doesn't always achieve what we think it's going to achieve. And at the end of the day, what's right for students is the most important thing. If we are going to move forward with the largest school being on this first thing, I don't think it's something that I can support. And so, while I know decisions have to be made, I'm honestly disappointed with the way this whole process has been going on for the last several months, in general. And the communication, the way we've received data, the way, I'm just flat out disappointed. And so we've been trying to do the best that we can with the data that we've had available to us in this moment. And I appreciate all the work and the input that we've all put in, that our community has put in, that the steering committee has put in, but we are frankly just set up to do this poorly. And we're just trying to do it less poorly. And that's all that is happening right now. But I will be consistent in making a decision based on what I think is the best thing in terms of improving outcomes for our students. And right now, I don't feel like this plan does that, especially if we're going to move one of our largest schools in the first year that we're doing this. So that's where I stand right now.
Dr. Martin?
Just going back to what I'd said previously, I mean, if we start taking one of our largest schools, and you see that 26, 27 is the only year that we have a very small school and a large school. And I just think that that gives us the capacity to be able to do it very well with those two schools and set the standard, because then when we go into 27, 28, we're looking at 4 schools.
Have all the boundary and redistricting data. We have more of a comprehensive plan in front of us, which we're going to get in the early 2026 year, that I'm saying, can we start with a small school, get that comprehensive data and plan from the consultants, and then work from there? That's what I'm.
We're not going to look at the redistricting data until next year? Is that
This
what
year,
you're saying?
early 2026.
Yeah, it'll be
this year.
February timeframe, I think
Right,
is what we
so
were
that's
promised.
still the school year. No action's going to be taken until the summer. Correct?
Well, I mean, we'll be doing the redistricting.
Right, I'm
In the-
saying as far as with Norview Elementary School.
I mean, there would
Kids are
be,
going to stay in there until,
correct, until the
May.
26, 27 school year,
But you
correct.
still have to
So-
plan that.
Right, but you have to plan, and I'm talking about not planning the building, I'm talking about planning the academic
The
environment.
transition and all
I
that
looked
stuff.
at the performance of each of the schools that are impacted next year, and I am very worried about what is going to happen to the students. Forget about all the adult issues, all the adult inconveniences. I'm talking about what is going to happen to our students is going to be costly, I believe. And so unless we do this well, and we don't have the time to do the learning piece of it well, that's my perspective, and that's where,
and I
that's where
somewhat
stand.
agree with you on that, because that's why I've been saying all along, we need to get them excited about the move, excited about the transfer, so that, you know, it's, and yes, we've been set up for a negative narrative from the beginning, as per always, but that's the history of the city. But I really want to make it a positive experience for everyone.
I do too.
Right,
But-
I'm saying, like, I semi-agree with you on that. I just think that the timing, that we could make that positive experience, being that it's a larger school and that it's getting most of our resources and attention the first go-round, and not that school with a bunch of other huge schools, or even medium-sized schools.
Colonel?
I think we've passed as a board, we've passed the time that we have to consider everything, and we taking more input. There's some decisions that are, we need to do something. We have been faltering for years, and we can't falter anymore. We have to make a step forward. And I'm not saying it's not planned and unplanned. We can plan it as best we can, but we don't take, as I initially put out there in my option, 4 schools in the first year. It's a little aggressive, but I was trying to start a conversation and get us to think that we have to do this. One school is not enough. We have things that we need to accomplish, and soon, because we do have there's a time, we have to do this soon. And our process, as you said, has failed also, because we didn't do well with Rosemont. All of a sudden, it shows up on the list, and nobody's gotten any input. Now we have, I don't know where the data or how much data we got from Rosemont, but they should have been included. You're right, we have not done a good job with this whole process. From 2008 until now, we have not done well. I yield.
So I asked if we bring this to a vote tonight, is there the support to pass it? Everything that Tanya has said needs to be taken into consideration, absolutely. To move past the deciding stage to the implementation stage so that we can do the very best job for our students that we can.
It's just a process. Nobody's gonna be happy, no one.
Any other further
So, Dr.
comment?
Poe,
So I do want to share some news that should not affect the vote going forward. Mr. Fraley shared with me just a couple hours ago that Woolpert has dropped their facilities planning department. So David Sturt's no longer, however, they still have their redistricting, and we're still under contract for that. So in the future, for ed planning, we'll likely have to do another RFP. So if there could be another cog thrown at the machine, that was it right there.
Yeah.
But I did want to share in full transparency that there, right now, the ed planning part, which we've gone through and we've gotten to this place, is it the prettiest we've ever done? No, but we've gotten to a point where I truly feel we have something that can be voted on. In Woolpert, we are still under contract with them to do the rezoning and redistricting. They're still experts in that area. It wasn't going to be David Sturt's doing that anyway. It was another person in the Woolpert firm doing that work. But we will in the future likely have to do an RFP for ed planning. We're reviewing the ed planning contract right now to make sure that since it was for ed planning with Woolpert that we're able to break away from it, but we're going with legal on that. But literally heard that a couple of hours ago today, and I wanted you guys to know as a part of this process.
So just to be clear, is Mr. Sturts no longer going to be involved?
I do not believe he is any longer with Woolpert.
Oh, so he's no longer an employee?
Correct.
I feel like this is a big cog in the,
It's a big
I
one.
mean, I don't see how it's not.
It is.
Because we've had this long history with them doing this work, and now with an understanding of what, Norfolk Public Schools is, what Norfolk is, and when does this take effect, I guess? Is this
Effective immediately.
effective immediately? Yeah, so the next time we have an update, is Mr. Sturts not our point of contact any longer, or?
So, and just the next phase of this was around the zoning, and it wasn't going to be David Sturts doing that update with us anyway.
I get
So
that.
as we progress forward with ed planning, we'll do an RFP. And that's not to say that Mr. Sturts isn't with a company that puts an RFP in the future and we don't get to continue to work with him. But it also gives us opportunity to look at the broad picture of ed planning as we move forward. But I didn't want the board to vote and to think that we were holding back information just to push a vote through. This is the lay of the land, and it was probably the worst news that Mr. Fraley could have texted me earlier.
Oh, by text.
No, he said call him. He said, so I did call him. But it does, we've come so far that I don't want this to get in the way of progress still.
Right,
Right. And I agree with you.
word progress.
If pending the vote tonight.
Has the facilities committee been notified, or we're the first to know, right? I hope, okay, now they know?
Do they know now or by
Hours
email
ago.
later?
Well, now they know, yeah.
Right.
Appreciate that.
All right, I think we're moving on. Can I get a motion to go into closed executive session?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we go into closed executive session.
Let me go out and just be sure people outside know you're making the motion, so they
Okay.
can come in.
Okay.
And do we want to state that, before we take the vote on this tonight? Just say Wolpert they're no longer with us?
We did.
No.
No, I know we did it here, but for those out there, they may have not saw if anybody's out there.
We don't
Okay.
do, we've never done that for anything else before.
The heck of a monkey wrench you threw in there.
My pleasure.
There, however, it may be that the closed session. I don't know, the lady that was sitting here mentioned that to me, and she saw some people leave. There's nothing to do about that
Oh.
now.
We don't even
Just
have
saying
time.
There are no members of the public present.
Yeah, the times on here are messed up. So it says closed executive session at 4:05
Oh, well, who did
on
that?
the agenda.
Who did that?
What? It says,
Like a placeholder. Oops. hold on a
Yeah,
second.
so it says school board meeting starts at 4, and then workshop, and then 4:05 is closed.
oh,
executive session.
I see that.
So some members of the public may not have come to witness this discussion, for example, of the closing consolidated school.
Is that on board docs you're seeing it on?
Yeah, it's right here.
But we can go forward now and go into closed.
'Cause
Last time I
see
checked board
October
docs, it
15
said it-
Time, 4 o'clock, workshop, closed session. I don't see a time.
It says
Oh, you
4:05.
mean
Yeah,
the
it says
actual agenda, 'cause
4:05.
when you look right here, when you first get the board docs,
Right.
that's the correct one.
And the last
No, no,
time I
know
looked
what
at
you're
this, I
saying, but I'm
swore
saying
it
when they
said
first
5.
get here, it gives
So
you what the schedule is. Okay.
that's probably a good idea moving forward.
So what we can do is moving forward, not put the time on
Yeah.
the closed session.
Right, because we don't know when the
First time
closed
in
session
board
is.
docs,
so.
it gives you the exact timing
Yeah,
of
4 o'clock.
everything. 4 o'clock.
But I would leave that
While we're
out.
talking of times, down here, I think you should put on reconvene business meeting, you should put 7 PM.
Oh,
on
yeah.
there. It's not on there.
Well, is it on the main page?
7 o'clock
Well,
is on the main,
it's-
No, it's
everything is on
not.
the main
It's not
page.
consistent
7
with
o'clock.
these.
Okay, well,
Main
noted.
page.
All right, now let's try this again. Can I get a motion to go into closed executive session?
I move that we go into executive closed session.
Second.
The motion has been put forth by Ms. Moore Buffalo and seconded by Mr. Inge. Ms. Tanner,
Okay.
please read the motion.
Move that the members of the school board of the city of Norfolk go into a closed meeting for the purposes which are set out in subsection A of section 2.2-3711 of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as amended for discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of the school board pursuant to subsection 2.2-3711A1 of the Act. The subject covered by this exemption is the discussion of persons and personnel actions included for vote on today's personnel report, and the discussion of unique questions for specific candidates for the position of superintendent who will be initially interviewed in closed meetings, which questions will be tied to individual candidates' unique qualifications and experiences, such that the questions could not be discussed in an open meeting without revealing the identity of the individual candidates, discussion or consideration of disciplinary and any other matters concerning students in Norfolk Public Schools that would involve the disclosure of information contained in a scholastic record pursuant to subsection 2.2-3711A2 of the Act. The subject covered by this exemption is a discussion of students and disciplinary actions on today's regular student support agenda, in consultation with legal counsel and briefing by staff members pertaining to actual or probable litigation or regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by counsel pursuant to subsections 2.2-3711A7 and 8 of the Act. The subjects covered by this exemption are consultation with legal counsel, consultation and briefing in connection with the matters set above in subsections A through B of this motion. Basine.
Aye.
Buffalo.
Aye.
Inge.
Aye.
Martin.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Thomas. DeCalagero.
Aye. I'm calling for an immediate 10-minute recess because you all take it anyway, so get your food and run to the bathroom. I would like to call to order the school board business meeting. Ms. Tanner, please call the roll.
Basine.
Here.
Buffalo.
Here.
Inge.
Present.
Martin.
Present.
Olson.
Present.
Thomas.
Here.
DeCalagero.
Here. Agenda item 4.03, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance led by our student representative, Athena Ash.
Good evening. We request that all cell phones and pagers to be turned off or to vibrate during the course of this meeting. Thank you. Please rise and remain standing for the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda item 4.04, can I get a motion to adopt the school board business meeting agenda?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we adopt the school board agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Inge has brought forth the motion, and Dr. Martin has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? Ms. Tanner, please call the roll.
Basine.
Aye.
Buffalo. Aye. Inge.
Aye.
Martin.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Thomas.
Aye.
DeCalagero.
Aye. Agenda item 4.05, school board's clerk's report with Ms. Tanner.
Chairwoman DeCalagero and board members, I am happy to announce our talented NPS students will display their artwork every month in the school board room. Just take a quick moment to see the artwork that's already on display, and in the hallway on the 12th floor and on the 11th floor of their annual school board gallery walk exhibition for the 25-26 school year, coordinated by the Office of Art Education by Dr. Georgiana Filio, Senior Coordinator of Art Education. This opportunity celebrates the creativity and talent of our students in grades K through 12. All schools are encouraged to participate by displaying student artwork here in our building. Each piece is professionally matted and thoughtfully presented, showcasing the exceptional artistry and imagination of our young creators. Congratulations again to our talented student artists for their outstanding achievements, and a special thank you for their teachers who work with them to produce these pieces of artwork.
Thank you, Ms. Tanner. Agenda item 4.06, superintendent's report. Dr. Pohl.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair DeCalagero, Vice Chair Thomas, members of the board, and members of the Norfolk Public Schools community. This month's superintendent report video highlights just a few of the many exciting things happening across our division, from the specialty programs night, where families explored the wide range of academic opportunities available to our students, to Crossroads School's celebration of Hispanic and Latino Heritage Months, which showcased the rich diversity that strengthens our schools. We also feature the EELC Expo, our middle school baseball and softball championships, and the ribbon cutting for the Born Learning Trail, all of which reflect our commitment to learning, wellness, and community engagement. I'd also like to mention that October is also National Principal Appreciation Month, and I want to take a moment to personally thank each of our principals for their outstanding leadership, dedication, and the passion for learning they bring to their schools every single day. Their work is truly the foundation of our success. So thank you for that, and with no further ado, roll the footage, Channel 47.
Specialty Programs Showcase Night was held at Norview High. Families were able to see firsthand what programs are available and how they could fit their child's needs.
It's actually good because before this, I did not know some of the programs that some of these schools offered. So it's a bit of information, it's a lot to take in, but I think it's good.
A highlight of the night was the interaction between families and students in these specialty programs. These students relished the opportunity to talk about why these programs mean so much to them.
I'm talking about the Leadership Center for Science and Engineering Specialty High School program, and I'm very excited to talk about this. I truly love this program. I'm a current junior, and so, I've been here for a while, and I am really interested in humanities and business, marketing. So, this program is really special for me because it helps teach me the leadership skills to build the future skills I need for the careers in that field.
Sixth grader Christian Smith had no hesitation, letting people know what makes the young scholars special.
The teachers, they're just like us, and they understand young scholars, and they help young scholars, kids, to be better. I feel good about it and telling people about the school I love to go to, and so they can join it and love it too.
For more information, go to npsk12.com/specialty programs.
A good time was had by all at the 3rd Annual Latino Festival at Crossroads School. Students, parents, and the community came together to celebrate Hispanic and Latino Culture Month. This festival is part of an integrated educational plan designed to develop knowledge and better understanding of the Latino culture within the community. Festival goers had the opportunity to experience traditional cuisine as well as the chance to visit interactive stations set up to showcase various aspects of the Latino culture.
So to honor and celebrate this holiday, we have been studying various components of Latino culture, such as art during the students' art classes and music. They're singing and they're playing with instruments, and so it's all culminated in tonight's event. It's really, there's many dimensions to this. So first and foremost, it's really giving a voice and really amplifying and celebrating the voices of our Latino students and families. And so our students are able to share their voices, their experiences, their identities with their peers at school. And then the other side of that is our entire school community is learning about their Latino peers. And so everybody's involved and everybody has been really excited and exploring and really celebrating the Latino cultures.
Families and community members were on hand for the 2nd Annual Equity and Excellence Learning Center Expo. This year's event took place at Southside STEM Academy, which is the 5th and newest member of the EELC family. Following an overview of what EELCs are and what they offer students, everyone broke out into smaller sessions to learn what each school provides for students. Numerous vendors and other resources were also in attendance to highlight partners who support our EELCs.
The EELC has provided a lot for the children tonight. It has been a wonderful event. I definitely like how they have the Girl Scout and the mentors, a lot of things that they're doing, the books they're giving out, the nutrition and stuff they're giving out for the kids. It's been an awesome night, and you guys did a really good job. And, it's been a really good night.
I love it, actually, because it's great. It's after work. I'm able to get there. Most of the time things are happening during my workday and I'm not able to get there. And I just love to get a peek of what the school district's doing, especially because she's newly into the school district. So, this way I can kind of get a picture and overview of, all the happenings that are going on. So it's always important to me.
It's really important to spread awareness and let folks know that the EELCs are here, we're thriving, we're growing, and we're just so proud of all the things our students and families are doing. My hope is that they walk away with a renewed sense of excitement and energy and curiosity. How do we get connected? How do we learn more? How do we keep this going? And just excited about all the opportunities and possibilities this brings.
Championships were won in middle school. Let's take a look. community partners from the United Way, public officials, and kindergarten students gathered for a special ceremony and ribbon cutting for a brand new Born Learning Trail. The trail, which is located across the street from Richard Bowling Elementary, enables youngsters to learn and problem solve while they play. As part of the event, the kindergartners got to try out the trail and they each received a book.
Students at Norview High School learned about safe driving in a fun and interactive environment. During this Teen Safe Driving program, students took a field sobriety test with impairment goggles on, discovered how to share the road with truckers, and experienced a challenging distracted driving course.
Honestly, it was very great and very beneficial. It shows how chaotic people are in the car, especially while it's going on. People are yelling at you to take out your phones, run this stop sign, when you know for a fact, like as a student driver, you should not do that. But it's like good to see like how it is behind the wheel with a whole bunch of distractions. And it was just like very chaotic for me to even be behind the wheel.
This event, which was sponsored by the Youth of Virginia Speak Out About Traffic Safety, or YVASO, was designed to show students how to be safe drivers through these hands-on displays and personal accounts of the results of reckless driving.
So my son tragically was killed in 2019 by an unlicensed reckless teen driver. The driver had been bragging and boasting on social media about how fast he drove. It was homecoming night and he killed 3 people that night, including himself. So what we found out after the fact were the things that were the most disturbing is that this was 100% preventable.
When you're driving reckless, you don't just pose a risk to yourself, you pose a risk to the people around you, and you need to be considerate and mindful of who you affect when you're driving on the road like that.
For complete video stories and more division-wide information about Norfolk Public Schools, visit the MPS website and check out our YouTube channel, Facebook page, Instagram, NPS newsletter, and our podcast, NPS Unplugged.
Concludes my report.
Agenda item 4.07, citizens' comments. Ms. Tanner, how many speakers do we have for the evening?
Madam Chair, for today's citizen comments, we have 6 speakers. Today's speakers signed up for public comments before the start of today's business meeting. If you would like to provide public comments, you are required to state the agenda item or topic you're addressing prior to providing your public comments at this meeting. When your name is called, please come forward to the speaker's podium, state your name and whether you have a child in Norfolk Public Schools or if you are employed by the district, and state your agenda item. One person is to speak at a time. If you are representing a group, state the group's name. You may ask your group members to stand in place to be recognized. Speaking time is limited to 3 minutes. A timer is set with an alarm that will signify the end of your speaking time. State your position and any relevant facts. Avoid saying anything that identifies students or personnel information about individual employees. Personnel, disciplinary, and confidential matters may be addressed to the school board directly via email at schoolboard@npsk12.com. Comments should be addressed to the board and not addressed to an individual board member. School board members do not respond to public comments at the time they are given. Any written statements or supporting materials should be given to the clerk. Chairman DeCalagero, our first speaker is Liz Albert, followed by Charlotte Smith Worley.
Good evening, Chairman DeCalagero, Vice Chair Thomas, and school board members. My name is Liz Albert. I do not have children in Norfolk Public Schools, and I'll be talking tonight about the superintendent search. It appears the board is poised to make an appointment soon, so I'd like to offer some input from the standpoint of someone who has attended your meetings for years now. Number one, I surmise your candidate pool might not be as extensive and accomplished as you would like. Let's be honest, the school board's reputation is one rooted in overt divisiveness. Anyone who views your recorded meetings can confirm the accuracy of that image. Undoubtedly, board hostility and infighting is a red flag for qualified superintendents. If I'm right about the breadth of your pool, please don't settle. Instead, extend the timeline for your search. You can work with the Virginia Department of Education to implement an extension. Number two, hire a strong superintendent, not a yes man or woman. I am well aware there is a majority board contingent which may be tempted to hire someone whom they believe will carry out their specific vision for NPS. Now is not the time to hire someone who will ask, how high, when the order to jump is issued. The school division is facing a new future. Closing and consolidating schools will reinvent NPS. This city needs a strong, experienced superintendent who isn't afraid to tell the board when you are poised to take a wrong turn. Candidly, you had that quality in Sharon Birdsong, and you didn't value it. A superintendent whose sole aim is to get along with the board and make every member happy might seem peaceful and good, but the truth is that approach often masks weakness. Number 3, watching this board work, I can say unequivocally, this board has the tendency to intrude on the administration's daily operations. You took personnel investigations away from the superintendent and put yourself in charge. You took over the facilities committee and made it report directly to the school board. Once you hire a strong superintendent, remember your own non-negotiable number 3, which states, the school board will not interfere in the day-to-day operations of the school division. I say all this not to be overly critical, but with the firm belief that if you hire a superintendent who can strike the right balance between strength and compromise, the children of NPS will surely benefit. Thank you.
Charlotte Smith Worley.
Good evening, community, school board, and Dr. Pohl. My name is Charlotte Smith Worley, a member of the Facilities Committee. At the October 1 board meeting, Ward 3 Representative Jason Inge made an inaccurate and highly inflammatory accusation directed at one of the volunteers that serving on the Facilities Committee. Mr. Inge claimed that in a recent committee Zoom meeting, the member had called all Madison students parolees. He repeated that rhetoric in an email to all board members, and I quote, "During this meeting, a committee member made comments that were both racially insensitive and deeply troubling, specifically in reference to the discussion on Madison. Then Mr. Inge called for a thorough investigation, possibly to have that committee member removed from the committee, all based on hearsay and no facts. If Mr. Inge had done his homework, reviewing the recording, his defamatory accusations would have been avoided. The committee member had simply paraphrased what is on the NPS website on the Madison page that included the word parole. Mr. Inge had plenty of time from September 25th to October 1st to listen to the recording, then do some research, but instead chose to be impulsive, possibly slandering this committee members publicly with false accusation. The committee member then emailed all board members asking them to review the recording, visit the Madison page, and when warranted, asked Mr. Inge to make a public apology. The chair did acknowledge that the committee members' remarks were publicly misconstrued. Certainly that means that an apology is in order. How sad a school board with the non-negotiables call for a treating people with respect would not hold a member responsible when they have violated that principle. So publicly, I stand here and say, shame on you, Mr. Inge. Take this as a teachable moment and commit to making accuracy your guiding principle. Your dialogue should be founded in facts rather than hearsay. I am saddened that you made these accusations at a time when the school board should be focused on your recommendation that will benefit all the children you serve. And I have a t-shirt that I had printed in 2008. I have been asking since 2008 to get something done. So I guess as Nike says, get her done.
Thank you. Carl Poole.
Good evening, Chair DeCalagero, Vice Chair Thomas, Dr. Pohl, members of the school board. My name is Carl Poole. I don't have children in Norfolk Public Schools, but I'm a former NPS student. I believe the purpose of public education is to help every child learn, thrive, and grow. Our schools aren't just buildings. They're anchors for community, opportunity, and hope. Every decision this board makes should strengthen that purpose and remain laser-focused on student success. The proposed school closure plan and the rushed process that created it moves us away from that purpose. Every version I have reviewed has been spurred on by political pressure and assumed financial savings that we only have guesstimates for. The plan would uproot children from the educators that know them best, disrupt trusted school communities, and potentially deepen inequities. I have watched as our city council has attempted to paint many of you on this board as the villains of this process. I've watched them issue threats and marching orders with no legal standing. I have watched as their surrogates berate you during your meetings and in front of news cameras afterward. I have watched as the city council turned one of its meetings into a political theater designed to make some of you look incompetent, all the while quietly plotting your electoral doom for you the next time your names appear on a ballot. Amidst this focus on political and financial maneuvering, one thing is missing: any firm justification that closing schools will improve learning, strengthen instruction, and make our students safer. When governance becomes about deadlines and optics instead of outcomes, we lose sight of the students this division exists to serve. Do not push a flawed plan forward. Pause and rebuild the process. This time centered on education and genuine community engagement, free of undue political influence. Ask one question: what will help our students learn, feel valued, and reach their full potential? Design schools through collaboration, transparency, and a focus on what truly benefits students. Tonight, I urge you to vote no against any closure plan that ignores this approach and pause all steps forward on school consolidations. Commit instead to a process grounded in learning, thoughtful planning, and authentic community conversations. Let's focus on our students. By doing this, we protect learning, opportunity, and the future of our city. Thank you.
Nicole Stewart.
Good evening, everyone. Evening. I am here to talk about school consolidations because that seems to be what we've been doing for about 6 months now. But I do want to address our superintendent search because someone did bring it up. And tonight I do want to publicly put support towards Dr. Pohl, because without Dr. Pohl, the simplest thing as far as 12-month employees having a calendar, because no one else realized that, wasn't implemented because of him. So I do stand with Dr. Pohl remaining as our superintendent. I don't feel as though we need to continue to drag our feet with anything else in the district. With school closures, I am on the committee. I'm not only an NPS employee, I'm an NPS parent, and I live in Norfolk. I shop in Norfolk. I do everything in this city. I don't take any of my dollars and distribute them to other cities. So I do have a stake in the game, and I do feel as though a lot of our committee members, like they do say, they don't have children in this district. I've heard in this company, it doesn't affect them. Non-negotiable 5 for you all is, and I quote, will not neglect to cultivate a safe, caring, and welcoming environment in any central administration department, school building, and classroom because the physical and social emotional needs of each student and member of the NPS workforce is valued. That is not happening. I was on the Zoom call where things were misconstrued. It was almost to the fact that students were referred in a negative tone as if they were parolees. That is something that I can't be a part of. At this point, our district is crying for execution. We cannot keep dragging our feet saying we need more time. We don't need more time. Everyone in this room has been in civic league meetings, you've been in community meetings, PTA meetings, where you've had separate meetings regarding schools and school consolidations with different school members being part of them and answering questions. At this point, our students are crying out for help. If it's not a political ploy, if we are truly here for equity and excellence in our district, let's pick the 10 schools and ensure that those 10 are based on every student, because I don't represent one school. Every school that I selected was based on overall. So I do show up for Ruffner every day. Some days I work for free. There are days where I'm washing clothes because we have students who don't have clean uniforms. I'm here every single time someone calls or there's a need for anything in this community. So the same expectations that I have for myself, I'm asking the school board tonight to please think about every building, every student, and let's stop focusing on what certain people don't want in the district because of their property values or things that don't affect the children in their neighborhoods. Our kids are reading below level. We have kids
Thank you. Your time is up.
11 and 15 who are struggling and forgotten. I've seen too many videos where elementary makes it look good on paper.
Ma'am, your time is up.
Okay, but again, can we please focus? And at the very least, if we're not going to vote tonight, I do request that we go back and look at the committee and ensure we've selected people that are going to represent every one of those buildings.
Lisa Walker.
Good evening, all. My name is Lisa Walker, and I currently serve as a reading specialist at Southside STEM Academy at Campus Stella. I'm speaking directly to your school board goal 4, equity and excellence for all, school board non-negotiables 3 and 4, and the superintendent's non-negotiables 1 through 5. This board has sold a storyline that school closures have been thrusted upon them by some random events. But these frameworks of inequality were created and have been maintained by this school board. In 1958, rather than allow black students into white schools, you allowed schools to be closed for months. Then in April 1986, the school board held a life-altering meeting with the city council and unanimously voted to end crosstown busing, which signaled the return to segregation of the 1950s and 60s. I watched many years ago when your educational consultant advised you not to create a K-8 school on the South Side because of the history and a clear message that we were doomed to fail due to concentrated poverty, and yet this board picked their better option. Fast forward to 2017, this board demoted 5 principals from the following schools: Ruffner Academy, Southside STEM Academy, St. Helena, Monroe, Jay Cox, and those are the 5 schools for a district turnaround. Now, how's that going? The framework has willfully put the neediest and most under-resourced schools on the backs of black women and men. Now, here are some real stats of that framework of inequality. We've had 5 administrators at SSAC since 2017. I'm currently the only reading specialist serving 10 grade levels. There's 1 Title I teacher and 2 early literacy tutors. The Virginia Literacy Act expanded to grades 4 through 8. Most of these students have code-based deficits, and a computer program would never take the place of explicit instruction. My school is a testament of a beautiful building with no thought of planning put into the academic programming that includes a detailed outline with the human and fiscal resources that are required for success. I hear you discussing these unfunded dream projects when in spring 2026, with the new cut scores being phased in, I have roughly a 14 to 16% pass rate. I heard a board member call the students at Southside STEM Academy, and I'm paraphrasing, barbaric barbarians. And I reference the culture in my schoolhouse is toxic. I promise you those statements would have never been tolerated if the name of the school was Ghent or Mari. What is toxic is that this school board allows certain schoolhouses to be under-resourced and crucify us in public. Some school families need promises in writing while others are going to be sold out to the highest bidder. So your words and actions are clear statements. Your goals and non-negotiables are just PR stunts and optics. At these meetings, I see history repeating itself. The board has chose to ignore the paid professionals on recommended options that leave the neediest students in deplorable conditions for the next 10 to 15 years. I see you, and more importantly, the families and students of Norfolk Public Schools see you. I'm going to leave you the article that I've referenced, and thank you.
Thank you.
Jared Reiber, or Reber? Reiber, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jared Reiber. I'm going to talk about Carrollton Elementary closing down. I have two beautiful children that go to that school right now, age 7 and 9. Many of the Carrollton Elementary parents were unfortunately unable to make it to this meeting today due to being unable to find childcare. So I'm hoping to be the voice for our community today. The majority of the children enrolled in Carrollton are military children. I myself have been in the military in the United States Navy for almost 14 years now. My children have had to move 3 times, change within 4 different schools within that time frame. When we moved here to Virginia, Carrollton Elementary was highly recommended to us by other military folks, along with high ratings off of the Virginia School Board. We chose our homes strictly because it was in the Carrollton Elementary School District and we wanted the best for our children. When we were notified that Carrollton was being shut down and displaced to a school with less rating, we were devastated. Carrollton Elementary may be a small school, but they have made it feel like a big family. This kind of bond is so important for military children because many of us are far from home, and many children also have parents who are currently deployed. The amount of support Carrollton Elementary staff showed my family while I was deployed last year was absolutely amazing. Military children thrive on consistency, and the one place we usually look for consistency is the school itself. Displacing students without giving them time to adjust the idea of changing is dangerous for not only their mental health and well-being, but also their social development. We need to protect the well-being of these students. I am urging you all to do the right thing by these students and give them 2 years till Carrollton closes. We do not want to invoke any fear or anxiety into our children by rushing a major change into their life. The majority of them already have that. Please allow time to adjust to the idea of relocating to other schools for these children. We understand that the school has to close down for certain reasons, but we are asking for you to do the right thing and close the school and relocate during the 2028-2029 school year and not anything sooner. Thank you.
Chairwoman DeCalagero. God, I can't talk tonight. I think I need a nap. This concludes our speakers for this evening.
Thank you. Agenda item 4.08, approval of consent agenda. Can I get a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
Ms. Moore Buffalo has brought forth the motion, and Colonel Paulson has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Tanner, please call the roll.
Basine?
Aye.
Buffalo?
Aye.
Inge?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye.
Colson?
Aye.
Thomas? DeCalagero.
Aye.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
can I go ahead and enter these into the record per our council to give to the clerk on all the emails regarding the information provided by the speaker today?
Sure.
All right, awesome. I'm going to give you the emails from all board colleagues, along with the email that I sent to my board colleagues, saying this is a teachable moment that was affirmed by Adele, as well as a transcript of what the said person said, and also the person that was offended.
Thank you.
This will be a public record available to any member of the public that asks for it. I would, Ms. Tanner, when do you think you might be able to have it available? In a day or two? Or even this evening? At any rate, I don't see any need for you to formally file a FOIA request. If anybody that wants it can contact Ms. Tanner via an email.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Next, we have agenda item 6.01, the monthly financial report. Mr. Anthony Starks.
For Jesus.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Pohl. We'll start with state funds, budgeted $274 million, recognized 18.9%. City funds, budgeted $41.3 million, recognized 16% of the city funding. Federal funds, budgeted $5.39 million, recognized $1.4 million, or 26.2% of the federal allocation. Other local funds, budgeted $3.69 million, recognized 5.2 funding, and we anticipate additional funding later in quarter 2. Assigned fund balance of prior years, we have in FY25 $24.1 million encumbrances, and that funding has been fully recognized. As of September 30, the general fund revenue performance is stable, and collectively we've recognized $476 million, or 24.6% of the budget.
Are you ready for the next page?
Okay. On this report, the revised budget stands at, for FY26, $476 million. Through September, we've had $91.4 million in year-to-date expenditures, and that leaves about 72% of the budget unspent, which is consistent for where we are now with burn rate. In the report, you'll see a couple of negatives in special education and state programs, and those are related to some unposted transactions, requisition errors, and some configuration errors in Municipal accounting system. And you'll see those corrected in the next report at the end of October. At this point, we don't have any program reductions or financial shortfalls. So this concludes my report for the budget summary.
Are there questions from the board?
Just, can I add another point here? We are also going through our budget kickoff at this time also, so we're probably 2 weeks into.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any questions tonight?
Mr. Starks, so thank you. You answered part of the question that I did have for tonight about the negative, where you talked about on page 5 for special education and what the reasoning is behind that. So I appreciate that. Does that also include for the contract services?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right.
Kind of typical for that area.
Yes, right. And that's something we saw last year, which is, I guess, the basis of my next question is, in terms of budgeting for the next year, is that something that, in our budgeting process, that we're going to, I guess, be more forward-thinking about what contract services we may need going into the next fiscal or next school year?
I can answer that, Ms. Basine.
Okay.
So each year, since I've been here, we've been talking more about contract services, and each year we've added more.
Okay.
You'll notice that a great deal of that is still encumbrances. So as we go through the year and see how that's spent, absolutely, that's a conversation we're having, is
Okay.
we're looking at the average over the past 3 years of what we spent in contract services.
Okay, thank you, yeah, because I noticed that trend as well, and so wanted to see.
And more
Thank you.
specifically, also, we are working with the leaders in those areas on their contract requirements at this point.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to adopt the monthly financial report subject to audit?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the financial report subject to audit.
Can I get a second?
I second.
Mr. Inch has brought forth the motion, and Ms. Basine has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? Ms. Tanner, please call the roll.
Basine?
Aye.
Buffalo?
Aye.
Inge?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye.
Olson?
Aye.
Thomas? DeCalagero?
Aye. Motion is approved. Agenda item 6.02, the transportation fleet auction. with open discussion explanation of this process. Dr. Pohl?
Yes, Mr. Calogero, members of the board. So the vehicles on this list, as we have those vehicles, we're also required to carry insurance on them. So that's a major part of the cost. And these are fleet vehicles that we have not used in a while, and they've outdated themselves, as well as you'll notice a long list of school buses as well. If there are specific questions, Mr. Fraley's here to answer any that you may have.
Madam Chair, sorry. Approximately how much would you say our savings, I guess, or how much are we spending on the insurance? I'm just curious, just to get since we haven't. Oh. Okay.
Mr. Fraley.
Yeah.
Oh.
Make it formal.
Mr. Fraley, please come to the mic.
Yes, ma'am. We also have to update all the vehicles for inspections, which is an investment of mechanical time and parts, labor. So when they reach a certain age or a certain mileage, we start to rotate them out. We don't get a whole lot of money in the auctions because they're not of great value, but it does offset some of our cost. We try to keep our fleet under 25 years, and you'll note most of those vehicles are 1990-something and early 2000s.
They're up there, yeah.
We've got all the use out of them we can get.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I was just curious about how much we might recoup as a result of.
And I'll let you know that this is also going to help assist with fuel costs. So the fuel costs have gone up, so this will help in the same budgetary area.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any further questions?
Yes.
Colonel?
I'm sorry. The state inspections you have, do you have somebody on staff that
Yeah.
can do it?
The state
You don't
police
have
come
to-
and train our mechanics, and we have specific I think we have a total of 10 at our garage. And they're not all 10 are certified to do the state inspections, but we have some that are certified, and they perform.
Okay. Do the proceeds of let's ask it a different way, about how much do you have to pay the auctioneer for what they get? A percentage?
We haven't moved forward with that contract because we were waiting for permission to auction them off.
But not in the past?
It's been a couple years, I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
I can tell you, we don't get a lot, like a big old
No,
bus,
okay,
a 55-passenger bus, last time we got $1,000 for them. And most of the vans and trucks are $700, $800. So it's not a lot of money we're going to retrieve.
Right, but there is some.
Oh, yeah, there's some.
I mean, yeah,
Yes, sir.
and
There's
there's
some.
time and effort that goes into.
Yeah, we don't give them
putting
away.
this
We get a little
together,
bit for them. Yes, sir.
I just so that everybody doesn't have a over expectation that there's a lot of money in doing this. It's a break even almost.
It's not a lot.
I don't think we're breaking.
It's not a lot of money, but there's some money that goes straight into the operational.
Do we, Mr. Freya, do we pay full price for state inspection stickers?
I think we get them in bulk, and then we place them on our vehicles as they pass inspection.
Okay.
I don't think we have to pay for each individual one, I don't believe.
Okay, all right, cool. Good to know. Thank you.
Further questions? Thank you, Mr. Fraley. Can I get a motion to adopt the transportation fleet auction?
And go ahead.
I move that we approve the transportation fleet auction recommendation.
I second that motion.
Ms. Moore Buffalo has brought forth the motion, and Ms. Basine has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? Further discussion? Ms. Tanner, please call the roll.
Basine?
Aye.
Buffalo?
Aye.
Inge?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye.
Colson?
Aye.
Thomas? Calogero?
Aye. Agenda item 6.03, the school closure and consolidation plan that was drafted on September 29th. Can I get a motion to adopt the school closure and consolidation plan from September 29th?
I move that we adopt the school closure and consolidation plan from September 29th, 2025.
Thank you. Is there a second?
A second.
Dr. Martin has brought forth the motion, and Ms. Moore Buffalo has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion? Ms. Basine? Oh, sorry, Colonel.
There still seems to be controversy on at least from my perspective of where's the input from the Rosemont parents, the students, not the students, but from that facility for what this, that appeared on this 29th, I think was the first time we saw Rosemont. So where's the input?
They had, the survey was available, and I also have received many emails from the Rosemont parents myself.
Is that available to the public?
The survey?
The emails?
If somebody would like my emails, they are welcome to FOIA my emails. But there was a survey put out. We received 80 responses. The board, we received 80 responses on the survey, which was sent to the board on Friday for review. Is there another, Ms. Basine, did you have a?
Is Colonel Paulson finished with his?
Do you have any further comments, Colonel?
No, I yield the floor. I'm sorry, I forgot.
Ms. Basine?
Thank you. Again, I just want to reiterate, I appreciate the work, the dialogue that we've all had, and the collaboration with Dr. Pohl and the administrative team. I do continue to remain concerned about the decision-making process that we've used, and I think a large part for me, what has been missing has been the focus on improving academic outcomes for our students. And with the list of schools that we have, we talk about in the first year, the recommended plan has, we talk about closing one school, but it's really not one school. It's one school, repurposing another school, moving students from that school to potentially 2 other schools. And that's a very big deal, because that is changing and transforming potentially 3 learning communities, 3 academic homes, 3 community centers in a sense. And I am comfortable before, and we haven't done the boundary and the redistricting work and come up with a real comprehensive plan that is focused on improving academic outcomes for every student. And so that is a big concern for me. And having a large school like Norview with over 400 students.
Actually, the numbers came in. There were 360 students currently enrolled at Norview.
Okay. Nearly 400 students still. It's a larger school that was further down on the list. And that's, it's still a concern to me that I want us to have the time to do this well. And with my preference is to have one school in that first year and allow the redistricting boundary work to take place so that the division can establish strong transition plans, communication plans, none of which we have seen yet. And so for me, this is really difficult because I want to stand here and be supportive of all of you and of our students and our school community, because this is huge. We're changing neighborhoods, changing our school division. But at this time, I just have real reservations about what the process we've used and the pressure we've been under, and all of that without academic outcomes being at the forefront and programmatic reviews being at the forefront. And so for me, I just want you all to understand that I am not comfortable with voting in support of this plan. But after today, I fully support the will of the board and all of you in the decision and stand with you with the community to address this issue. So just wanted to say that.
Are there further comments? Colonel?
I've been trying to figure out what's the right thing to do with this, because our process has not been the best. We've had meetings, we've had lots of input, but the process as we've moved along has had, I feel like it has not done well. And we should try to think of that also. That how can we make this process better for the future? I don't think we have informed a lot of the citizens as best they could have been informed, but that's kind of in the past. We have to do better going forward. And the individuals, when you come here and you speak, you're holding us accountable, and thank you for doing that, pointing out where we can do better. And so we don't have this that in the next round, and there will be more as the population declines going forward. We will be faced with this again and again. But if we can get it right and get your help, everyone to help us, that will make it easier for us to move forward and for you to move forward with us. So, thank you, and I yield the floor.
Any further comments? I do want to acknowledge that our hands have been forced with this plan, but we have gone through many iterations of this plan, and I stand fully behind it. I know it will be difficult, but our kids are resilient, and they will bounce back quicker than the adults. And so I now call for Ms. Tanner to please call the roll.
Basine?
Nay.
Buffalo?
Aye.
Inge?
Aye.
Martin?
Aye.
Paulson?
Aye.
Thomas?
Reluctantly.
Thomas? Aye. DeCalagero?
Aye. The motion is approved. Before we adjourn the meeting tonight, I need to make a public announcement that the superintendent first-round interviews will take place between October 20th and November 3rd. And I will also like to say a goodbye and thank you to Mr. Fox for the work he has done for the school board, and he will be missed as he moves on to bigger and better adventures. So thank you, Mr. Fox. Now turning to agenda item 7.01, this meeting is adjourned.